Welcome to Sustainable Global Entrepreneurship. These are the instructions for quarter 5 and 6. The learning points for quarter 5 and 6 are as follows. It's about that you discover the causes of performance shortfalls. You need to adapt to new opportunities and problems, and you need to start working on the margin to improve your performance. So it's about managing the future, taking the initiative now by expending resources that will shape the events and the opportunities coming next. So it's also about where should additional money be spent on? How can we get more out of our current investment? So you want to discover and exploit the market's many response functions and figure out all the data to turn this into your benefit. Also, it's now possible to start learning from smart competitors' decisions, copy that or move ahead of them. So basically, it's about that you will learn how to use the tools of management. There's marketing feedback, competitor analysis, employee productive data, manufacturing reports, accounting reports, industry benchmark, profitability analysis. There's so much. So hopefully by now your strategy is fixed. You know what to do and you're going to stick to that. Only if there's major issues you're going to deviate. So if you know where you're heading, it's time to shift your focus toward adjusting your tactics to get there and improve your performance, to get there in the best possible way. If you work on your margins to improve performance, you will have additional funds for your stakeholder management. So things to think about in the coming 2 quarters is licensing technology, something new. I will explain it in a bit. Your competitor benchmarks, also the management of your strategy, improving research productivity. You might want to consider to borrow money to make more improvements or not. It's managing the things. Also, it's important that you start watching the balanced scorecard and your stakeholders. So, first of all, license technology. In the last quarter, you had the first time the opportunity to buy R&D. Some of you already bought R&D, which will be available this quarter. For others, they have technology that will come available the next quarter. Once you have it, you can, of course, invest more in R&D and see if you can have different features to make your bike as popular as possible. However, it's also possible that if you have R&D available, that you start licensing this technology to a competitor, meaning you give them your technology, of course, in return for a payment. You can also buy, of course, technology from others. You can find this under brand management. There is an R&D licensing button, as you can see in the screenshot. To do this, please make sure you read well and understand the options. It's a bit complex, and if you pick the wrong options, you will regret it. If you pick the right options in the contract, you will have the opportunity. Also important in R&D licensing that if you make an offer, the other needs to accept it. Sometimes the deal is finished, sometimes you also have to press accept depending on your settings. You need to do all these things before the deadline. The moment there are any open deals at the end of the quarter, they will be cancelled by the deadline. So figure this out. This will be fun. So how does it work? You are team A, and in quarter 4 you have invested in R&D. This is now available for you in quarter 5, and you can design it into a new brand. You can also make the offer to team B or team C or BNC or BCD, whatever teams there are, to license the R&D from you. So if they license it, they will get this R&D available the next quarter, so in quarter 6. That means that they will also pay in quarter 6. Yeah, so there is a bit of delay between the moment and delivery and the payment. Of course, you understand that if you buy R&D from another team, it is less expensive than if you would develop it yourself. You can just buy it off the shelf. The price, that's to negotiate between you and the other team. Don't over ask, don't try to underpay. It will not work. You have to find the market equilibrium. Also, you can of course sell license to multiple teams. Make as many deals with as many teams as you like. Yeah? So, negotiate to find mutually beneficial opportunity. You can sell it to everyone, or only to the weaker players, or only to one player to team up and beat the others. Everything is possible, but keep it fair. Of course, there's game theory and a prisoner's dilemma. If I offer this, will I get it in return? Yes or no? But remember, what if you sell a technology for 40% of the original price? Okay, you only have 40% back. But what if you sell it to 3 teams for 40%? Yes, then you have 20% profit and you were the first with the technology. So there's plenty of opportunities which will also allow you to future investments or investments in technology or in printing capacity. Licensing is a bit complex but can give you a lot of competitive advantages. So, also widely available now are the competitor benchmarks. It will tell you a lot about brand and ad designs, prices, sales priorities, channel. You can know anything about your competitor. Make sure you always buy this, as it's rather cheap and will give you a lot of insight. So you can actually use this to reverse engineer the strategy of each competitor and know what they're doing. So if you know what they're doing, you can predict their next step and you can either beat them or avoid them. It's also important to determine who's a threat and who's not. Also, you might want to consider this when setting prices for your licensing technology. Determine the strengths and the weaknesses of the competition and turn these into your own benefit. Adjust your strategy and tactics in reaction to your competitors. Yeah? If you can buy R&D licensed technology cheaply, why would you continue developing the same technology? So also think about decisions you have made, are making, and future decisions, so you can anticipate. So, the management of your strategy. So we're going to zoom in to discover the causes of your performance shortfalls and see what we can do with that. One of the things which limits you on being most successful is, of course, that there is not enough funds. It's really hard to get money. You can only get it from sales and maybe a small bank loan. So whoever is in charge of the accounting or the finance or you as a team, if you run out of money, it's not that you can't do it. You have to turn that question around. How can we spend our money smarter? Investing is the norm. You can do so much. So just have a look at some of the data to give you an example of what I mean. So brand profitability, for example. We see here 3 brands. They have quite some sales revenues. You can see the margin, you can see the brand design, the ads, etc. And at the bottom you see the profit per union and the percentage from sales revenue. So which brand should get more advertising based on its return? So you can now have a look. So you see that there is one brand which has 60% from the sales revenue. The profit per unit is double as the weakest brand. And then if you look at the marketing or the brand advertising, it's the lowest. So probably if you spend a bit more there, it will boost further on. So if you look at these same brands again, so you will probably see that the Blitz 2 brand is staying behind. It's not doing as well as the others. So this is an indication that you either want to stop advertising, so you're going to reduce cost to improve the profit per union, but you can also decide to stop the brand at all and introduce a new one with your new technology, or reshape it, invent it yourself, steal it from competition, copy them, but the Blitz 2 is not doing what it's supposed to do. So, and there's much more in tables like this which give you information. So, do you need a point of purchase display for all brands, or is that too messy? If you give discounts on everything, a discount is not special anymore. If everything has a point of purchase display, it doesn't stand out. So it might be stronger not to have these features for all. Although they're cheap, they might influence the other effects in selling. Also think, what improvements can I make? Am I not overspending on advertisement? Is the balance okay? So you're going to look at everything what can be changed and make your decisions. You're also going to apply the same logic to other decisions. So do I need new brands? Do I need to enter new segments? Do I need to stop selling older brands? Do I have enough capacity for next quarter and the quarters after? How are my investments in quality going? Is the reliability the same or lower as competition is? What are my investments in employees giving me, and how can I change this? The same is for your community, the stakeholders. What is it gaining you and what is it costing you? So if you know that, if you look at the amount of advertising for each brand, the number of salespeople in each city and segment, the compensation, you can do better on all. So if we're going to improve the research productivity, please remember that we discussed elasticity of the market response function of each decision in earlier instruction videos. So if you have another $500,000 to spend, or maybe it's a bit more or a bit less, remember elasticity. More is not always better. So in some cases it is, in some it's not. There is a maximum amount of investment in advertising, and if you invest more, it doesn't add value. The same for salespeople. You can keep lowering your prices, but if there's no need to lower your prices, you're just throwing away profit. So the same is for R&D, sales, outlets, capacity. Those have different elasticity functions. So you want to check them all. So it's also important that you know how you can get more out of your current investments. So ask yourself questions like, is it better to move salespeople between sales outlets or some market segments, or do I need to expand? So reposition all the things you have. If everything is equal, you're not doing okay. You are more creative, and you will see. So an example. The number of salespeople. So if you are in 3 cities and you pay them the same and you divide them the same, then you can do better, because you can look at the more profitable markets, the more profitable segments, and then you can reassign. So maybe this is much more effective. Costs are the same, but your output is much better. So think about this, play with this, and try to find the formula that works for you in quarter 5 and in quarter 6. The same is for the number of ads. If it's all the same, you can do better. So what are your most profitable brands? What are your best rated ads? Keep in mind that your decision, of course, must be synchronized with sales and manufacturer later on. So if you want to grow again or need a bit more money, you need to look at your capital structure. Like in quarter 4, you still have an opportunity to have a short-term bank loan. And of course there are costs involved and you have to repay, but if you can use this money and turn it into more money quite fast, then you can cover the cost of the debt and you will grow as a company. So it might be a good idea to use some debt. However, make sure that you spend it on things that create money for you short term, because you have to repay it anyway. You also have seen this balanced scorecard before. So businesses use it to guide decision making in order to ensure that all important areas are managed. So you might have a very high cumulative balanced scorecard, but we are looking at the individual elements. So make sure you score good on all. As you know, your business acumen will also be judged by your scorecard performance. So think and manage multidimensional, and of course things influence each other. So look at all. So first of all, go into your simulation and compare yourself with the others. In this setting, I selected 2 strongest performers are highlighted for each measure, but you can add more. So try to become as dark green as possible. If you hardly have any greens, you're behind. You need but also if you see that some of them are really doing better on certain parts, you know where to look in the benchmarks. We can also flip this and look at the weakest performance, which are highlighted. So stay out of the red, and especially the dark red. So you want to be as green as possible and learn from each other and figure out how it works. You will understand, of course, that if you invest a lot in the future, that will influence your financial performance. And it might influence your financial risk. If you invest a lot, your reputation will, of course, go up, but your financial performance will go down. So it's very hard to be best on all, but find a balance and make sure that you don't stay behind. The same is for managing your stakeholders. You know your improvement actions and you have set your strategy in the beginning. You want to align this. You want to make sure you can do all these things. However, you probably can't do them all, as it's all expensive. So make sure it's aligned, and it helps you as your organization and your brand in becoming stronger and more attractive. Because the stronger you are, the more attractive you are, the more you can do for your stakeholders again in return. So the learning points again for Q5 and 6 is manage your strategy. Figure out where you can improve and see which opportunities come along. While doing this, see if you can, increase your margins to improve your performance, and spend this in a wise manner so that you have balanced growth. It's not becoming the biggest, it's becoming the most balanced. According to the marketplace simulation, you can always do better. So even if you are ahead of the pack, check your decisions and continue growing.